If you have long-term rentals, I want to encourage you to keep this hack in mind. Now, a lot of times when it comes to long-term rentals, I want to ask you, what is your mindset with your tenants? You see, for me, and this has been a lot influenced by what I call my gray-haired mentors, is the idea that you want your tenants to stay in in the property for as long as possible. And so part of that is, turnover, right? Turning over the property, getting it ready for the next tenant can be very expensive. This is one of the reasons why single family homes are great versus multifamily, because multifamily, most people, when they think of an apartment, they're thinking, I only want to live there for, a year or 2 years, and then eventually I want to get a house or something like that, right? It's almost transitory, it's a transient in nature. So keep this hack in mind when thinking about your tenants, right? So if you're thinking long term, right? There's even ways that when you're screening tenants, you can find out, who is thinking short term, who's thinking long term. You can find out what is drawing them to be in that neighborhood. Is there some sort of anchor? Is there some sort of, like, that could be a church, schools, maybe a progression of schools, right? The elementary, middle schools, junior high, high school, stuff like that. Is it, what, is it a big church? Is it something like, what is drawing them to that area? And that ultimately, obviously, as you're getting to know your tenants, one of the things that I recommend, and here's going to be the big hack that I suggest, is that you do two things with your rent. The first is that you price it slightly below market rate. So, for example, if market rate is 2,000 a month, for the property, based on comps, everything going on in the area, rent it at 1950, even 1975, 1950, something like that. And you are, first of all, you're going ahead and you are showing a level that you are, your competition with the other units for rent. The other thing there is going to be to offer a discount. You're saying, Courtney, you keep cutting my, you know, the revenue, right? Some time. So, all right. So let's just say you do it at 1975, right? And so just a little bit below market rate, nothing crazy. And so then from there, what I would encourage is that what we do is we offer a discount on rent if you pay rent on time. And so that can be the main one. Now there's other ways that we do it as well, but if they pay rent on time, so you can lay out that deadline, pay it by the first, right? So end of the month, sometime before the first, something like that, or pay it before the fifth, right? Then ultimately they'll get $100 off. So if you're at 1975, you ultimately would get 1875. Now, ultimately, whenever you price a property below market value, some people say, Courtney, that's leaving money on the table. Courtney, that's impacting my cash flow. Here's the reality. I would rather my properties be rented, tenants paying on time, and staying in there for um, longer periods of time than squeezing out every little bit of cash flow. So if this is something that you are going to do, you've got to plan ahead of time when running your numbers. All right. So this is something that, I would encourage you. What's your thoughts around your tenants, right? Again, do you want them, to take the first person with money? Do you want to take the best fit? Do you want to take someone who's going to be there short term, somewhere long term? Because ultimately, turnovers truly can impact your business, right? And so I want to incentivize my tenants for, good behavior, right? And I really do want to encourage someone that they would want to stay in my unit. I'm not constantly raising the rent. Now, a lot of my old school mentors almost never raise the rent. Now, with that being said, that can be very hard to justify due to rising cost. Look, a lot of mom and pop investors are being squeezed thanks to insurance, thanks to property taxes, material and labor, all of those things. So it's hard to say, for example, rent was 750 and 10 years later, rents now, 1750, it's hard to always keep it at 750, right? But with that being said, I want you to think long term, right? You want to look for tenants long term. You want to, set your policies, your rules, your practices with long term thinking in mind. So, hope this helps. Give me your thoughts on what you think about this. Do you currently offer discounted rent for, if someone pays on time, other things like that? I know for us, it is one way that we do keep our tenants staying in the house. They, generally will they're generally paying on time, things like that. So every now and then we have people who have issues, and so we'll work with them. And a lot of times it's centered around some sort of life change. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm here. Today is my last full day in Tampa. I am staying here until tomorrow, fly home, and I am always excited to learn, take what I've learned, and bring it home. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Have a great day.